It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, today we're going to jump on that gigantic, sharp, interactive board. I want to share my thoughts on Toshiba's first quarter. The first thing I got to do is say, man, I am super excited. The big bosses in Japan for Toshiba made a decision in the domestic marketplace for Toshiba, which would be the Japanese marketplace. And you know what that decision was? Well, folks, it's something I've been screaming about for like 3 years. So apparently, the leadership at Toshiba watches the end of the day with Ray. You know, they got tired of me screaming about this, and they said, you know what, maybe we ought to do what Ray says. And it looks to me like they did what I said, and I got to thank them for that. So the first thing I want to do is share this little thank you letter I put together. I had the really smart guy at Google, Al Overview, translated in Japanese, but let me read it to you. Thank you, Toshiba Domestic, for taking the advice from the end of the day with Ray. Retail domestic is now combined with workplace domestic. Folks, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. In Japan, Toshiba finally put that MFP in the shopping cart. This is great news. I mean, think about it. You know, the people in the Japanese market are going to get delivered an exceptional experience in that intersection between the digital and physical world, whether it's at work or whether they're shopping. And Toshiba is going to control that deliverable with one unit, cohesive, let's go kill it. This is so exciting. So exciting. Now we just got to get Toshiba to do it in the overseas market so that all those shoppers and all those workers all over their overseas marketplace can get that same great experience through that intersection, whether they're shopping or whether they're at work. Let's talk about Toshiba's numbers. Their top line revenue was $823.3 million for their first quarter. They had an operating profit loss of $14.2 million. Never good to have an operating profit loss. You know, as I was going through Toshiba's financials, they got just clobbered by tariffs. I mean, folks, I got to tell you, those friends of mine that sell supply and service print equipment, if you don't think those OEMs are going to start raising prices, you're out of your mind. They're going to start raising prices. And I think that our industry has to remember what happened during COVID and the idiotic stuff they were doing, like having sales. You know, the industry's greatest supply chain crisis in its history, and the print industry's running around having sales. I mean, there was folks that were actually having people sign leases on equipment they couldn't even deliver, just so they could run back to the office and ring the bell and make some sales manager happy they sold something. Totally insanity, right? We can't be doing this crazy stuff. We need to figure out how to raise our prices to our end users. We got to figure out how to bring more value to the end users we service and support. We can't be afraid, so petrified, that we believe our customers believe we're obsolete, so we just got to do whatever it takes to keep them happy. That's insanity. And if you really feel that way, you know what? You probably should sell your business. Or maybe you should figure out how to add some real value that you can actually charge for. One of the reasons that I've been screaming at Toshiba about putting the retail and print business together. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at that Workplace Solutions Group business for Toshiba for their first quarter, $352.5 million in top line revenue, and they had an operating profit of 0.2%. Yes, I had to say the word zero. I had to spell it out because it's really low. It's disgustingly low. And I don't care. You know, Toshiba doesn't want to see operating profit like this. They don't. I mean, they had a $677.5 thousand operating profit on $352.5 million. I mean, that's, folks, I guess it's above the line, but it's just really a rounding error to be below the line. And Toshiba, here's the problem. If you wait much longer to mix the retail and the workplace in the overseas marketplace, you're missing out on some great opportunities. Because, folks, when you do this, you're going to have some hiccups. I mean, the dealers are going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to get trained. It's going to take time. We got to do it now. You know, you were bold enough to do it in that domestic market. Be bold enough to do it all over the world. And let's just make this happen. This needs to be a 2025 deal for all of Toshiba. It'll be so awesome. I'll be so excited about it. Let's look at the Retail Solutions Business Group. Net sales of $478.3 million. Operating profit loss of $14.9 million. That's not good at all. But boy, when you look at the domestic marketplace, guess what? They had an operating profit of $9.5 million. So here's what I'm thinking. It's working in the domestic marketplace, putting retail and workplace together. Now you got to do it all over the world. Toshiba, you're going to have some hiccups going through this. There's no doubt about it. But I'm convinced those friends of mine that sell, supply, and service MFPs can easily figure out how to take this retail product into the marketplace. Will it be super easy? No. They'll have to learn it. They'll have to train. They'll have to bring in leaders that understand retail. They'll have to do a lot of things. But they can do these things. And they will do these things. Toshiba, you just got to give them the opportunity to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, they talk about this $14.2 million in operating profit loss. They got clobbered by tariffs. I mean, it's just absolutely clobbered by it. They're projecting that for the FY 2025, they're going to have an operating profit of $81.2 million, which is 12 billion yen. And they're also saying that, you know, the tariffs are going to hit us by 11 billion yen. I mean, think about that. They would have double the operating profit if they weren't so concerned about these tariffs. And if the tariffs weren't really, I mean, the tariffs thing, folks, we got to deal with it. And it's going to be up to dealers that understand how they can raise costs, bring other value to the end users. The OEMs cannot absorb all this. They're not going to be able to do it. Let's talk about this Workplace Solutions Business Group. You know, in 2020, that was the year, that COVID, that was just crap, right, for everybody. And you know, Toshiba in the Workplace Business Unit dropped below the line that year. But in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, they didn't go below the line. They had operating profit. You know, 4.9% one year, 5.6% another year, 3.2% another year. 2021, they had a 0.5% coming out of that damn COVID crap. But, you know, Toshiba, you've always been a good company. Your problem is you got to get more customers. You got to get more retail customers, and you got to get more MFP customers. So you got to figure out a way to do that, right? And I believe there's a way to do it. So we all know that Toshiba joined ETRA. We all know that ETRA is the manufacturing, you know, venture, if you will, that Ricoh started, and Toshiba has equity in that. Soon Oki will have some equity in that. But if you think about Toshiba in their print business, they're basically buying product from a company called ETRA that they own an equity stake in. Can Toshiba do things with other print OEMs? I mean, is there a rule there? Did Ricoh say, hey, we'll let you have some equity in this joint venture, but you're not allowed to do anything with any other OEMs? I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I'm hoping it's not, because I think that Toshiba has some opportunities. And folks, let me just share some thoughts with you. Toshiba does have to expand its distribution to end user outside of current direct and dealer end user distribution. They already have what they have. They got to go outside that and get more. I want Toshiba to open their mind, and I want them to think about Xerox. And I know a lot of folks are saying, oh, come on, Ray, Xerox, what the hell? You want Toshiba to have their products go through Xerox's distribution to the end user? Are you out of your mind? No, I'm not out of my mind. And I wasn't out of my mind when I suggested that Kyocera call up Xerox and say, hey, would you sell our inkjet product, right? And we all know that Xerox and Kyocera got together on that. But what I'm thinking about is this. Xerox bought a company called Lexmark, and Lexmark was huge in retail, folks. We all know this. Well, guess what? Lexmark doesn't exist anymore. It's now Xerox. Xerox has a MIF of A4 MFPs. They also have a pretty big MIF of retail business. Could you imagine what Xerox and Toshiba could do with the retail products from Toshiba? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, could you imagine maybe Toshiba could introduce Xerox to ETRA? Ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be some things that are going to shake up in our industry. And we have to open our minds to possibilities. And so I want to end today's episode. I'll start with a quote from our friend Albert Einstein. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Albert, you know, smartest person in the world, right? Well, I don't know. Now he's got a competitor, that Al Overview guy that works at Google. But here's what I'm thinking. Innovation is all about a change in process. Those who can change the processes to better align with the end users will win. So let's imagine the process changes. All of my friends, let's imagine the process changes. Let's imagine how OEMs can work together. Let's imagine how OEMs working together can change the game, not only for the dealers, but for end users all over the world. Because every single person watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that will be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.